All right. Good afternoon. We will place this on, it'll be sent out on Friday and it'll be on the YouTube page probably tomorrow. I normally get the email in about an hour or so, and then I'll place it on there tomorrow. So you can look for that tomorrow. But this was a mandatory meeting, so there should be someone from every program on this Zoom meeting. And today we're talking about the 21 APR data unavailable gaps, challenges, and the next steps. So this is the deal. So I think everybody knows about the Gepper measures. We've talked about that for a couple of years now. And it's pretty much all of the measurements that we have to take all of our things from Easy Report and it goes to 21 APR, which is the Department of Education, which the part that everybody doesn't pick up directly relates to our state allocation for 21st century. If that's what everybody has heard Amanda talk about subgrantees versus grantees. Our state is the grantee. Y'all are the subgrantees. So the state has this grant that they get from 21st century, and that allocation is based on the data that we report. And it's also a report, like a progress report that the DOE gets and Congress gets and all of that when they want to know about 21st century. How are we doing? So we link to Power School to get this information. What we didn't realize this year, we tried to get more than one pool. We got one pool. So, and I think that pool was in July, August. When we asked for it again in December, as we had, given everybody, hey, go back and check more kids in Power School. Power School said, nope, can't get it. Everybody that's flagged now is a new school year. The data has been turned over, so it's not going to give us the data that we need to give to 21 APR. So let's go to the next one. And that kind of explains all that I've said. This is compliance with federal reporting. They mandate the 21 APR system to ensure that 21st century programs meet the required performance standards. That's GEPA measures. Just like I just said. These are all of the GEPA measures. Now we've talked about it. So pretty much in a nutshell, the first one and the second one are state assessments. The first one is reading and ELA. The second one is math. The third one, which their number, well, I'm saying one is one and two, but the second one is the GPA, which is grades 7 through 8 and 10 through 12. The first one was grades 4 through 8. The third one is grades 1 through 12, so most everybody in that school day attendance. The fourth one is the percentage of students in grades 1 through 12 with in-school suspension, which is behavior. And then the fifth one is grades 1 through 5th for teacher improved or teacher reported behavior improvement or engagement improvement. So those are the GEPA measures. They're listed on our website. We talk about them all the time. At this point, I think everybody should probably print it out and put it on your wall. This is from my wall. I have it on my wall all the time because I need to reflect on what we're working towards. But so for all of these measures, we had to do compliance stuff for it. So the importance of collecting this data is all of these things: compliance with federal reporting requirements, program performance evaluation, funding justification and sustainability, student and family impact measurement, stakeholder accountability and transparency, and then data-driven decisions. So just like I said before, this goes to the Department of Education. This shows that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as the federal reporting and compliance. This is evaluation. So again, the state, the feds, everybody has the grants, sub-grantees, everybody has an evaluation portion to there. So this is our evaluation. Funding justification. So like I said, this is a grant for the state. So we're justifying why we need this grant and how we can sustain this money. And then the family and student impact. So definitely data-driven decisions and data, what is it doing and how can we make the programs better? And then stakeholder accountability and transparency. That's to us and every other taxpayer that pays taxes and pays for this program essentially. So all of these are the reasons why we're doing 21 APR. And we have a significant amount of missing data. So the impact of this of missing data is we're showing gaps in our program evaluation. So we want to figure out how to close the gap for the missing data. The missing data creates inaccurate performance measurements. It challenges the funding in and compliance records. It limits students' impact analysis. So it makes it looks like our program doesn't impact our students when we obviously know it does, but the data is what proves that. So we need to show that. It weakens the stakeholder and partner accountability. So our senators and all of those people who vote for the appropriations for 21st century, they think, oh, well, 21st century isn't working. Let's come up with something else because that's what legislators do. They try to fix problems on a larger scale. And then it hinders decision making. So again, all of that trickles down. So in Easy Report, we're talking about and it's listed up here, school year 23-24 and summer 23. So you'll be looking at your Easy Report 23-24, not your current Easy Report, last year's. So one big difference in this year and last year is we were mandated to separate our summer and school year. So that's going to look different. Previously, we have never had our outcomes be separated by outcomes by school year and summer. Generally, it'll just say all year or school year because we do report on summer separately. But this year, we were told that we needed to separate our summer because it's two batches of different kids. So that kind of is going to impact our reporting because we didn't used to report on these students separately. They kind of were lumped into just everybody, and we did surveys and all of the other GEPR measures for those students. So everybody, and we gave our TPI ladies sent emails this in the fall asking for this information for you or for you to check your data check. That's something we do every year. So to check your data check, you're going to um, complete the following steps. So you're going to go to reports, and I'm generally going to work on the side panels. I don't want to pull it up because if I pull it up, then I start showing you other people's information. And so we have a bunch of screenshots in this presentation, and we'll also send out a like handout. It's going to be a couple of pages, but it'll have all of these steps together in one document. So you won't have to look through the PowerPoints and figure it out. But these are for the presentation purposes. They're going to go to reports. Again, I'm on the side panel for Easy Report, and this is in 23-24. You're going to scroll down to the outcome section. There are two data checks, one for the school year 23 and 24, and the other for summer 23. Both must be completed. Always run a data check before and after you enter the data. You're going to click, if you look at we have arrows to kind of show you where you're going. You're going to click the data check button for the program. And I would suggest doing this from the grantee side, but you can do it from the site director side, this portion. The only portion that you cannot do for the on the site infrastructure is the unavailable data. That has to be done on the grantee side, and I'll talk about that later. Okay, so for number 5, you're going to run a data check. The Run Data Check button is located at the top right corner. So we're going to do a data check. Going to click that button first. And then the following icons indicate data issues for each report type. So the top bubble with the check mark indicates no data issues. The X on the box indicates missing APR data, and you're going to click the icon to view more details. And then the exclamation in the chat bubble is data issues exist. Click on the icon to view more details. If you click the view details button on the APR data check page to view the information, so then it's going to ask you, so there's the view. Previously, I know some people would approve that exception. It depends on what the exception is if you can approve it. But even if you approve it, later on you're going to have to create a justification for why that data is missing. So everybody got that? If y'all have a question, y'all are going to have to raise your hand or Somebody's gonna have to tell me because I can't see. I'm gonna pause for a second because I see a bunch of.
I'm just going to say something real quick. I just,
Mhm.
and everybody probably caught on to this, but I just want to reiterate, because that we have a lot of missing data, we need you guys to go in and fill in that missing data. So that's what this is about, us showing you how to go in and fill in that missing data so that what you're reporting is correct. Now, there may be some data that is missing because a student left your program or something like that. And if that's the case, that's fine. There'll be a place for you to put in a justification for why that data is missing. But if the data is available to you and it just didn't get uploaded because the students weren't marked as 21st century students in Power School and in an early enough time, then we need you to go in and manually enter it. And that's what this is about. So that's why we need you to ask questions if you're not understanding what's being said or anything like that, if you're not following along, because this is something that everyone is expected to do as part of, being a subgrantee. So
Thank you, Amanda. Sorry, I
it's
couldn't read the
okay.
PowerPoint. Okay, so yeah, if y'all have questions, there's like a raise hand button or something because I can't see the chat button with all of my slides going. But if you have questions, please stop me. And and then as always, like I'm gonna send out a handout for this. I'm probably gonna go ahead and send it out tomorrow and this PowerPoint slide and the recording so you can go ahead and start with this process. But again, and it's going to be at the end of this slide, of course, if you have questions or if you're like, I didn't quite understand what Erica was talking about, call me. Call me, call Linda Williams, call Linda Dean. We are here to help. We have no problem doing that. Kavan, you got questions? Okay,
Hey,
great.
Erica. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
So, is there a way that I can go and scroll and see 23, 24? Because mine is showing 24, 25.
Good question. So for all of the easy report, if you look at the address bar, let me see if I can swap my screens
It
for a
says
second.
easy reports and it has Alabama like the index. I just need to go and wipe out that year and put 23, 24 there.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Let me try that.
If you just, I think y'all can see my screen right now.
I was just trying to follow along. Oh, thank
No,
God. It
you're
just,
good.
yeah. Okay. I'll try it.
All
Thanks.
right. Let me see if I can get my screen back. Great question. All right, I think I'm back. All right. So you're gonna go to the reports, and if you're on the screen, you're gonna see the side panel that has all of the activities, reports, all of that. You're gonna go to reports, scroll to 21 APR, and then once you get to the 21 APR, you should see this box towards the bottom, and that's the box we're working on, the outcomes box. The activities and students, we are done with that section. All of those things can be pulled from Easy Report pretty easily, just based off what you're adding regularly. Those are demographics, how many students did you have, what grades were they in, that type of thing. But the outcomes data was initially going to come from Power School. And if you put it in, if you mark the kids before July, probably, then that data was transferred to Easy Report. But if you did not mark your students before July, that data was not transported to Easy Report. We did not have multiple pools like we hoped. And we're working on it for next year because Amanda has access to at least see who you all have marked so that we can do some regular checks to figure out, hey, are you missing students? Or hey, I don't see this district at all, and I should, that type of thing. But we're also saying I'll send some directions on that on Friday. There are regular intervals that you should be trying to get your students marked in Power School. We understand that a lot of site directors don't have access to this. There's generally only a principal and maybe a counselor that have access to this, or your technology coordinator of your district. something like that. Someone like that is who can mark these students in Power School, but you need to prepare a list for them of your summer and your school year students. I would say at least 3 times a year, so at least each semester, and I'll talk about that later, just so that you can make sure that your students are marked in Power School. And then we're gonna do some frequent checks around that time also to make sure that children are marked in the system for your district so that we have data to report. Because again, any missing data that you have in 21 APR, you now have to go in and either try to manually enter it. And even, we know we have issues where, well, this student doesn't go to our school anymore, so we don't see them in Power School, so you can't pull their data. If that's the case, then you enter a justification for that. And we'll talk about some examples for justification in a little bit.
Erica, someone has a question about summer.
Let's see. You're gonna have to read the question to me.
They didn't put a question. They just said they have a question about the summer. There is no question. Is B. Naaman, are you on the line? Can you ask your question about summer?
If they raise their hand, then they'll pop up to the top of my screen or the top of it, and we can unmute, but I don't. I'd have to search for them and figure out how to unmute. What if summer 23 was a previous cohort? If you were 17, then don't. If you were 15 in the previous in summer 23 and you're 17, make sure I'm speaking right. 23 was. Then generally the data does not roll because that was the beginning of your cohort. But me and Amanda and I need to discuss because that's true. We do realize because our summer was not reported in the same manner that we're going to have to enter a justification kind of explaining that our reporting system changed and we weren't used to doing like teacher surveys. There's no way you're going to go back and be able to reproduce teacher surveys from summer of 23. But going forward, we know, and we're going to kind of guide you to who you should be getting to do your summer surveys for your students. Because in the past, we've talked about doing school day teachers, and obviously a school day teacher does not know a pre and post when they're coming in brand new for a student in August. So we've been told that we can have like our summer camp teachers do a survey on the students because, the survey kind of says, well, did your student improve? Well, do you know they have improved if you're brand new to them in August? So if the summer person does it, let's say it's a 5-week program, they're going to know within the 5 weeks if the student improved just in regular activities that are going on in summer camp. So we will give you guidance for that close to the summer, but be prepared that we are going to be looking for the summer surveys now. We've said it before, but we want to make sure that the summer students, they are 21st century students, their data has to be counted. So I've had questions before where people ask, well, why do I have to check my students in Power School for summer? They're 21st century students, it's 21st century dollars, they have to be accounted for. So, but if you have summer surveys, we're going to put in a justification for that. And we'll give you a direct justification that you can put in your box for summer surveys. The rest of them, if you are cohort 17, I'm going to say you can say in your justification that that was a previous cohort or a different funding source, and I'll give you some justification for that. Give me
Or
till
just-
Friday to come up with that wording.
Yeah, or just say that your program didn't start until the school, until August of that year and you didn't have a summer program,
And it might not ask you for it because we don't have data for if your cohort or your Easy Report site didn't exist for that session for that summer, it might not even ask you for it. Because now that I'm thinking about my spreadsheet for summer 23 is a lot shorter than my spreadsheet for school day. So I think it's not going to ask you for it, but I will make sure. And if it does, I'll give you a justification for it on Friday. Let me see. I missed how to change the 24-25. Go to the address bar and where you see Easy Report 24-25, change those numbers to 23-24, and it'll take you back to the other one. If you've been here before, if you were in the program last year, then your same login will work. If you were not in the program last year, send me an email and I'll make sure that you get access or a temporary password to 23-24, and then you can create your own password. Let me see. Okay, somebody answered. Thank you. Will the justification for each individual student have to be entered or for all students? I'm gonna get to that, but it's gonna be for the section. It's not gonna be for each individual student. It's for that GEPRA. What a summer. I answered the question. I have a staff warning for summer 23. One of my teachers doesn't work during the summer. How do I change that? You can just approve that exception because that's fine. That's not gonna affect the outcomes. That's your activities. The results not be showing if we have been flagged in Power School or students. So it depends if there's a lot of reasons. So if your students aren't showing, so like if you're looking at your data check, let's go to the next slide and I'll give you a idea of what it looks like. Hold on. Okay, so the question was like, why would my students not be showing in Easy Report if I check them in Power School? Well, if you're a CBO, you almost have no way of knowing if they really were checked, if you gave the list, and that could be very well part of your justification. I gave notice to the school system or the LEA to flag my students on XYZ day. I would give a date. I would have this justification for you to say that you asked for it, and that will be one of the example justifications that we give you. But if they're not showing an Easy Report, then they didn't go, they weren't flagged. So either if you have 100% they weren't flagged, then none of them were flagged. If you have a partial, then it could have been your data that's entered in Easy Report is different than the data for the student. So sometimes I will get a list that says, well, the student number is correct, but the name is totally different, or the student number is correct, but the birth date is off. Or if all of those pieces don't match what the school record has, and one of them could, well, I've had cases where Power School was incorrect. The child's name was misspelled on the school's end, and I can approve that. But if so many of them are different, like if the name, the date of birth are different and the student number is the same, I can't accept that. I can't say in good conscience that I know that that's the child. So Easy Report kicks that kid. So that child is not reported. So there's different instances why your students might not show up from Power School to Easy Report. But the main thing is we're gonna start pulling reports regularly to say, hey, we see that you have students flagged in Power School. So we can kind of do a check based on how many students we see in Easy Report and how many students we see flagged in Power School. And all of this is not to say that everybody is missing data. I promise you, number one, nobody's 100%. Let me make that clear. Nobody's 100%. Everybody has at least one child who left the school, left the system, I don't know, for different reasons. And so you couldn't pull them in Easy Report. And so they're missing. But we have a lot of sites who we can tell that from 3 years ago when we had first started Easy Report, or not Easy Report, but 21 APR data, we have a lot more data than we had previously. We're at this point about at the 50% mark, but we want to make sure that Alabama shows our data correctly. So we want to make sure that everybody is accountable and putting their justification so that you know that this missing data is important. And so that we can work towards making sure that all of our students are flagged and all of our data is given to the State Department, given to 21 APR, so that we're represented the way we know our 21st century programs are. We know our programs have a really good impact on our students, but if we don't flag our students, we're not showing that. So continuing with the data check, you're gonna run a data check and the button is located on the top right corner. And then we talked about these buttons. And then you're going to click the View Details button on the APR data check page to view more information. So when you get to the more information, this is a screenshot of what you will see. And again, you have these same type of bubbles. If you have a checkbox, then no data issue exists for that student. If you have an X, then missing GEPR data for the student is available. And for the outcome reports, the detail page looks like this. So the reports list names with each no GEPR or missing data, and it focuses on what student with missing data. So you can click each one, you see which one. But this is the missing data part. This is not where you're going to put the justification. So somebody asked, do I have to put each student missing information? Yes, we're trying to get that data, but you're not going to put a justification for each student. So then once you go in, so this gives you a list to work with on which students you're going to need. So I would take this list and then we'll show you how to pull a template. And this is where you're going to start going to Power School or give this list to whoever in your district and say, hey, I need these things for these students. If you have built the relationship with the school admin or somebody, maybe you go and sit in their office. This is what I would do. You go and sit in their office and you sit on their computer and you do this for an hour. If you don't have the relationship, you ask them to do a printout of these students so you can get these 5 GEPR measurements. So you would need school assessments. You need, and these are only based on what grades the students are. So for assessments, you would need grades 4th through 8th, and there will be students. The list of the students will be named. So you need their grades assessments, you need the GPA, and whether they need these things are checked. So I can tell that this student is somewhere in grades 4th through 8th because they're probably in 8th because they have the GPA marked. And GPA is grades 7th and 8th, and then high school. So only a middle schooler would need these 3 and not need the other 3. Yes, I'm a nerd and I know those things. I can tell that this student is in grade 8th because they don't need these things, but they need this thing. So just based on what GEPR measure you're looking for, it's based on the grades. So once you pull this list, then give this list to whoever in Power School, or you go through Power School yourself and you pull this data for them. So let's go. So all of this is going to be a spreadsheet. You are not going to have to enter each student one by one in these report. I promise at the beginning of this conversation with Amanda, I was like, Lord, if they got to go to each student, bless y'all, and how can I help? Because that's going to be a lot. So we worked with Easy Report. You do have a spreadsheet that's going to have all of the students, their demographic information that you can just go in and answer the questions from your data from Power School. Now, I want to say before I start getting into the instructions for how to enter this data, we are looking for everyone to be using the honor system and being their most honest self with this process. I know we want to make our programs look the best they can look, but we don't want to tell untruths to do that. I know we're all educators and we want the best for our students. So the best for our students is to enter this information as honestly as we can, so that next year when we have better data, we're going to show improvement. So we have to have a base to show improvement. So as honest as you can, look at the data because it's going to ask you, or did they improve or did they stay the same or did they go below? So you're not going to put in a letter grade or a number grade for these students. You're going to honestly say, did they improve? Did they stay the same or did they not improve? So you're going to go to Easy Report 2324. I probably should have put that earlier in the slides, but 2324. You're going to access the data check page. Complete the following steps. You're going to go to Report. So we're still on that same page. Report, scroll down to 21 APR. You're going to go to GEPR data upload, and then you're going to click the GEPR data upload button. So this blue button right there. So once you click that button, And again, I'm gonna send y'all a one, it's not a one pager, but we'll send y'all just a Word document that has instructions on here so that y'all don't have to necessarily flip through all of these slides to get the instructions. So then you're gonna go to, so you're gonna see this spreadsheet once you get to that portion. Because this is the upload button and I wanna see the spreadsheet first. This is the data template that is going to show you what you'll be pulling, and this is all the data. Don't change this. This is just going to be, don't uncheck anything, don't add a check, just this data. And then you're going to generate the report, which is that button right there. My computer is, okay. The template is going to look like this. I don't want to show you a template because, so this is what the template looks like. Of course, it's just going to be in an Excel spreadsheet. So you're going to save that Excel spreadsheet on your desktop. I want to make sure you can find it or put it wherever you know that you're going to find it. So if that means I save all of my stuff in our OneDrive, then I'm going to put it in my OneDrive that's marked 21st century with the year. Wherever you can easily access. So Linda Williams says put it on your desktop. So if that's what you want to do, that'll be an easy way for you to get back to it. Do that, but put it somewhere you're going to find it. Don't just leave it in the download. You're going to enter the student's missing GEPR data on the Excel spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet, it's going to look like this. You're going to see students in the first and the last. You're going to see their date of birth. You're going to see the school year. You're going to see the school code. But there are some columns that are not shown on here, and those columns are going to be columns K through S. And those are just their demographics. We didn't show them on here because we want to fit what we need on here. But it'll be a whole bunch of other demographic information listed on this spreadsheet. Do not take out anything on this spreadsheet, just add. So if there's a blank, that's what you want to fill out. If there's already student information there, leave it. Because if you are just missing 25% of your data, there will be some students' information already, sorry, I moved too much, already entered in the spreadsheet. Don't mess with those. That's why I have this real big, do not alter, change any information on this spreadsheet, but you want to add what's missing. So in the ELA and math assessment columns, you're going to enter Y for yes, N for no, and NA for not available for growth or improvement. So let's look at those. So let's say I have a student who had, this is my best example. I have a student who had, because this always should trip me up. They had a 90 last year. And then the next year they still had a 95. That's no improvement. And I hated putting not available for growth, but they didn't need any growth. Now, if they had a 90 one year and then the next year they had a B, then no, they did not have growth because they declined. But if they had an 80 and the next year they had a 90, then yes, they did grow. So this is based on a yes, they grew, no, they didn't, or not available. So if they stay the same, we're going to say it's not available for growth. Like not available for growth. So like if they had a 90 and they went to a 90, not available for growth. But if they stay the same, I'm gonna still say that's not available because they stay the same. But if it's growth, yes. If it's no growth, meaning they declined a letter grade, then no, then stay this or not available for growth. So if I need to clarify that more, I need y'all to speak up because I know that's where we're getting confused. If you look at this, we are comparing one year to the next year. So we're comparing 22-23 to 23-24 school year. So you can look at the average of the year to the average of the year, or you can look at from the last semester's grades to the last semester's grades in the next year. However you want to do it, just whatever comparison you decide to make, stick with it. So if you're going to compare, because you need to be able to justify this. So if you're going to compare the average of the year, then do the average of the year for every student. Does that make sense?
Erica, there is a lot of questions in the chat box. I think what is happening is they're trying to do this as you go along. And it's hard for you to hear what she's saying and actually doing it at the same time. Because we're going to give you all some clear instructions on how to do this. And I think that will clear up a lot of questions that you all may have. Because somebody asked, I didn't see anything to compare 2003 to 2004 for ELA and math. That information is going to come from your power school. Those are the GEPA grades that you're comparing 2022 to 2000 and well 23 to 20 two. So you're comparing those two together, but you're not going to see that in Easy Report. Easy Report has already did the pull for the GEPA data. So this is something that you're going to have to go into Power School and compare. So that was one of the questions that I don't see anything to compare 23 to 24 for the ELA and the math. You're not going to see it. You're going to have to actually go into the Power School and review both of those years that you're comparing. This is not an Easy Report. This is something that you're actually putting into Easy Report, whether or not they've shown improvement, yes, and whether or not, no, they did not show improvement or information is not available. Does that make sense to you all? If not, please contact us or wait till after this meeting so that we can go more into depth about what Erica is talking about, because this is a lot of information.
And just to let you know, for the data that was pulled from Power School to compare one year to the next, they looked at grades. They looked at the English or the ELA grade from one year to the next, looked at math grade from one year to the next, and that's how they determined whether there was growth or not. So to be consistent, I would think that would be what you would need to look at is did their total grade improve from one year to the next for ELA, for the first two, ELA and math.
Lindsay, just
Erica,
ask a question.
yeah, it says, what if the data is missing from 22, 23?
Then that possibly means that that student wasn't in Alabama or something. I mean, they're asking if it's missing from Power School or if it's missing from Easy Report.
They didn't exactly say, it just
Yeah,
says, what
Molly
if the
didn't
data is
clarify. Molly,
missing?
clarify for me.
You're gonna have to clarify the question, Molly.
Lindsay, we're working on it. Lindsay asked, can the State Department send clear instructions for how to pull from Power School or how to flag the students in Power School? I mentioned that to Carla and Amanda yesterday, and Carla is working on getting me some clear instructions to flags. And so I said, I'm gonna give y'all instructions because this is the time that I want y'all to go send a list of your students to flag, but I need clear instructions on how to do it because I think the instructions that we had previously, they are not valid anymore. Because Power School has changed. Let's see.
Yes, so Carla's reaching out to Stacy Royster, who works with Power School here at the state, and we're going to see if she can give us, provide us with some good instructions to provide everybody with. So we're working on it.
And she's saying that is also for pulling this data so that they can see the attendance. So we might need instructions for that too. That's a good question. We'll get with her and try to get better information on that because they are going to need to know exactly how to pull this report to see that info. Amanda's making notes, so we're good. Okay, so I need to do summer surveys for last year. Yes, go ahead and go back and do summer surveys for last year while it's still kind of fresh. We will still report next year that, you know, they separated our school year from summer after our summer was over. But if you can get summer surveys for your students for last year, that would be great. And the summer surveys are for students 1 through 5th. So those are the only ones that you would do teacher surveys for summer. But yes, there is a summer survey in Easy Report now that you can go back and do, and that would be 24-25 because summer started. The summer started this year in 24-25. Do I have any more questions? These are good questions, y'all. Making sure I could find the Kepra upload page.
Lindsay is
I
asking
don't
a
see it.
question, Erica. It says, for example, when I log into a previous school year and try to run reports from a previous year, it runs it based on the current year enrolled students.
Yes, that's what I was asking Amanda
Mm.
to get information on how to pull the reports correctly so that they can have comparison information. Um, Somebody asked when they log in, they can't see the Kepra upload button. Are you on the site side or the grantee side? Meaning, are you a site director or a program director? Because everything doesn't show up on the site side. So that could be your issue. I think I'm caught up on questions. Okay. So we will send you a sheet to kind of try to explain what data you're comparing, and we will send you instructions that though the instructions for Power School, they're not coming tomorrow, but I'm gonna go ahead and send you the recording, this recording and the PowerPoint and it's a couple of pages, but the directions to do all of this data check and data unavailable. So you can start entering your data that you can get, and you can start creating your justifications for data that might be missing. So you're going to compare from year to year. ELA state assessments, that's just your whatever the benchmarks are. Did they improve? Did they not improve? Or was improvement not available? GPA, like Amanda said, we don't compute a GPA. We just look at either an English or a math score, and did it improve? Did they improve from one year to the next? Because the state Power School doesn't compute a GPA for middle school students. Days enrolled, that's decently simple. And for a cheat for days enrolled, if you're let me see if that's for everybody. Days enrolled is going to be for 1 through 12. So you could technically go back and look in your easy report and see if you operate, if you're elementary school, you operate every day. So if you're an elementary school site or you operate 5 days a week, you could technically go back in your easy report from 22, 23 and 23, 24 and see if your students improved or how many days they were there that one year versus the next year. Because generally, if your students are in the school, but that only works if you are a 5-day-a-week program. If you're not a 5-day-a-week program, then it's not going to work. You're going to have to look in Power School to figure out your days attended. In-school suspension, you're gonna have to get that, but that's just the basic number from one to the other. And then in the other one is surveys, and surveys is not on this spreadsheet because surveys is entered in surveys through Easy Report. So if your percentage is high for teacher surveys for Easy Report for school year, then now is the time to go back and ask those teachers for surveys again. We've sent out some survey information previously, and I'll send that back out to you tomorrow on how you can enter. You can either email surveys to teachers, which is the easiest way, but sometimes the firewalls do not like it. Or you can go to each student and click on the survey, and you can I used to just take a laptop to the teacher and say, hey, can you fill my surveys out? And that might be your best bet at this point when you just need the data. And that's how your student surveys will increase. Let me see. Whoa. Somebody just asked a question and I'm trying to figure out for what grades are the GEPRA one. GEPRA one's grades are grades 4 through 8. All of those, it's going to be on this spreadsheet, but it's also on the website under resources, GEPRA measures. We do summer surveys using summer workers. We will have to change the teachers under, yes, that's what you should do. Right now, so that's part of why I think Easy Report switched their student information to have summer students and school year students. Why, your students that were summer students didn't automatically roll over to school year. because the teachers are technically different teachers from summer to school year. So for your summer students, I would go in, change the teachers to the summer teachers, and that way they could automatically get the surveys. So is the growth based only on grades? We are not using ACAP. Depends on what grades. I was checking out. So for the state assessments, that's going to be grades 4th through 8th. And for the GPAs, that's going to be grades 7th through 8th and 10th through 12th. So if you don't have students in those grades, then it's not going to look for that. But if you do have students, I guess grades
Yes,
4th
I'm
through
sorry.
8th,
I think I caused confusion there. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
okay.
The state assessment is different than the actual letter grade. I apologize. That was for GPA.
Yes, letter grades was for
Sorry if I
GPA.
caused
Okay.
confusion.
No, you're good. You're good. I was like, wait, what? Letter grades is for GPA. So we don't try to compute a GPA. You don't have to try to compute a GPA. Just look at either meet reading or English or math and go 1-to-1. Did they, for this semester or this year, did they improve the next year? You don't have to compute a GPA. Just look at one of those. For the state assessments, that's for grades 4th through 8th. You're going to look at the state assessment data. Was it improvement? Was it growth? Was it not? Did it stay the same? But yes, I think they answered the question. Okay. Let's go to, so this is the spreadsheet that you're gonna fill out once you complete that spreadsheet. And honestly, if I'm working on this spreadsheet for one day, I'm gonna go ahead and upload what I need, and then I will do another one. That's me. I would get as much information as I could as I was working on it. So I wouldn't walk away and just save the spreadsheet and go another day. I would upload my spreadsheet every day that I was working on it, and then the next day I would go through these steps again. So the next day I would go back, I would pull me a download of a new student template, make sure that it had the data that I had uploaded the previous day, and I would start the process all over. Because every time you upload, it's going to be writing that data into that spreadsheet. So that would kind of give you a check and a balance that you knew that your student data that you were working on was in the spreadsheet, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So yes, this is how you're going to upload. You're going to go to reports. We're always going to be working with this reports, 21 APR reports. Scroll down to the GEPR upload and click GEPR upload, data upload. It's going to look like that. So you'll download from the blue, and yours might be slightly different colors, but you'll download from the top. You'll upload what you have completed at the bottom. And so then once you get all the data that you have, you pull all of your students, you notice, okay, because I will be highlighting as I go, I got 2 students that they no longer are at my school or they are not in my district. I can't pull their data. That's fine. We realize nobody's gonna have 100%. But you will go back to reports, 21 APR reports, outcomes, which is going to be towards the bottom, activity, staffing, and participation. We're done with that. Just outcomes. You're going to go to summer and school year. So I would go to summer first, click on this unavailable data button, and then it's going to take you, sorry, y'all, every time I move, it's moving with me. It's going to take you to the justification page. So you're going to click on the little box with the slash under each GEPR to enter a justification for the unavailable data. So whatever you don't need, Easy Report isn't going to ask you for it. So if you're a high school program, high school program, so 9th through 12th, it's not going to ask you, and I tried to blur out the name, but I did. It's not going to ask you what is your ELA scores because it knows that you don't have any kids from 4th through 8th. So it's going to ask you for GEPRA, GPA data, school attendance, behavior. It's not going to ask you for engagement because if you're if you're not an elementary school program, you don't do surveys. So you're going to click on the ones that it says you're missing, and then you're going to enter justification. So you would click on those and you'd enter justification. So I didn't show you what that screen looks like, but it's going to be a box that says that GEPRA, and it's going to ask you for a justification. So these are some examples. I'm going to send you a whole sheet full of examples for justifications for the different GEPRAs. Some of them will work for multiple ones. So if you notice my first example, the student transfer to another school or district before the academic year performance or attendance data could be collected. That could go for GEPRAs 1, 2, or 3. The student withdrew from the school or program before assessments or data collection took place. That could go for 1, 2, or 3. The students did not complete the required assessment due to absenteeism, illness, or disruption. That could go for 1 or 2, meaning they missed the assessments. And that could happen. They could have missed the assessments, then they could have missed the makeup day. GEPRA 3, the school day attendance, the LEA did not flag all of the students enrolled in the 21st Century site in Power School, thus their data did not upload. Now, this is where we're asking you to go into Power School and do it. But again, if you're a CBO, I want you to make this request today. Send an email today to your school principal and whoever it is that you talk to generally, but make sure you include the school principal. I would go as far as if I had a good relationship with the superintendent, I would include that person too. Just whoever I felt like I needed to get the data that I needed to get. You know that's the data person in your district, email that person, but go ahead and request this data today. I need my students' information for Power School. I would go ahead and pull this list and give them the exact, these are the students that I need the data for, and this is the data that I need. Make the formal request. Do not tell them your deadline. They won't get it to you by that date. So generally I made up a deadline of a week and I would say, hey, I need it next week, but I would give them a firm date. And then a couple days before that deadline, I'd say, hey, just making sure we're on target. And when I saw them, I would ask that same question. At the deadline, I'd say, hey, I still need it. So make sure that you're making these requests in writing. Amanda is available to help with that. If you are getting stonewalled, you're not getting the data there, oh no, we're not going to pull Power School. You as a CBO, you should have this in your MOU with the school to say, hey, they're going to provide you with data on your students. I would pull that and I would say, hey, remember we said that you're going to give me this data. But if all of that does not work, and we want you to be working on this like in the next few days, because Amanda is available to back you up on this. So if you are having trouble getting someone in your district, and that's why I said if you contact the principal and they stonewall you, and then you contact the superintendent, they stonewall you, then your next email and call should be to Amanda, and she will back you up by contacting one or both of those people too, so that we can try to get this data. And then if all of that fails, then your justification is the LEA did not flag all of the students and would not give you the information. But we want to make sure that that is your last option. We don't want to throw our LEAs under the bus. Y'all are still going to be partners. You're still going to want to serve your kids, even if it's like pulling teeth. You want to serve those kids. You know that it's a valuable program for them. So just make sure that you're making those efforts to reach out and ask them to give you this data, not just verbally, because there are a lot of things that people might ask you in person that you forget. Email. Let me see. Students okay. So these are your other, and I promise you, I'm gonna give you a whole sheet of them that we've created. And you can add to this or put ones together that you feel like go with, but these are just examples. I don't want you to use these because you didn't try. So we want you in the next 2 weeks to try to get this data as much completed as you can. And then once you're to the, okay, this is all I got, Then you'll go back and put justifications because you still might be missing one child's data because that child left the school. Then your justification is the student transferred or the student withdrew. If you couldn't get the data, then you put that. Let me see. If in-school suspension, because I know we have a lot of LEAs that do not use in-school suspension during the academic year. That could be your justification. For surveys were sent to classroom teachers, but the response rate was low despite reminders. So these are examples of justifications, but these are common things that I know I've talked to people about, and these are things that I hear a lot. So these are acceptable justifications. I'll send you more for you to look over, but that does not mean that you have to use exactly what I said, because your circumstance could be totally different. So your justification could be a little different. I just want to be mindful that these are going to the federal government, so I don't want you just to put something crazy. Please do not put, that State Department, they want me to fill out this. Don't bash us. We're just trying to do the best we can with the information that we have, and we're literally just trying to make sure that our program and our data is correct when we're sending this information. So just really think about this when you create these justifications.
Hey, Erica,
And
there's another question that says our students in second grade only took the practice ACAP. Do I use that for comparison or put NA? Those students in second grade will not be affected by this. They will
no,
not
they
for
won't
GEPRA
be.
1 nor GEPRA 2, but for the GEPRA
Yes.
3, 4, and 5, yes, they will be, but not for GEPRA 1 or 2.
Yes, 3, 4, and 5, yes, but not 1 or 2. Those are for other grades. So if you only have grades 1 through 3, then the majority of your GEPRAs, when we saw the sheet, let me see if I can go back with the X's on it. It's not that one. All right, these are going fast.
And for those grades,
This one.
Erica, they
Then
don't even have
yours
to
will
put
still,
justification because
right, you won't have to put a justification. Because Easy Report is gonna say, oh no, these students are not in the grade, so yours would reflect no student. And so it's not asking you to put a justification on that. So if I had a student that attended 1 year, 4th grade, is that why he is showing missing GEPRA data in ELA? We don't have a comparison. Yes. Yes. So if you don't have a comparison because they only stayed in your district 1 year, and you have nothing to compare to. But now, if they were in a school in Alabama, because our school is all over the state, then you should be able to see a previous year. But if they are out of your school already, you're not going to be able to see their power school for comparison at all. And that would be your justification. That student withdrew from your school or your LEA, or you don't have a comparison because they were an out-of-state student and they have only had 1 year in the district, so you have no comparison. That's a good one. Thank you. I checked and rechecked his info and couldn't find a mistake. He's from Kentucky. Yes. That's your justification. Student is missing because they were out of state and their comparison is not available. With deadline data, please be mindful that some of us are going through compliance and writing cohort 26 application. The media reports are due, and we have a conference in the next 2 weeks. I know, we know. We're sorry. So your deadline is Monday the 24th before ACA, because if you need some extra help while we're in ACA, I will be available. The lenders will be available. If you catch me in the hallway and have a question, y'all know I will answer it. I will look at a laptop with you or whatever. So that's why your deadline is that Monday. If we need to work on it while we're in ACA, that's fine. But that Friday of ACA, we are done. We're done. We really have deadlines for the State Department and for the federal government that me and Amanda have to sit down and create justifications for what's missing after we see y'all's data. So we need y'all's data. Sorry, I'm sounding country. We need everybody's data in the system no later than the Friday of ACA, which is why the deadline is the 24th before ACA. So if you have questions, you can ask during ACA and we'll work on it. But that Friday, that is it, so that me and Amanda can sit down that next week and come up with our justifications for the state in total, because we need to be able to say, we tried to do, we asked them this month, and then we asked them this month, and then we had a training this day to get this data and have it the most correct that we have seen it before, because every year is a progression. We want to have more data every year than the previous years. It's a great question. But yes, we know y'all have extra stuff. We really, this is gonna make sure that we are together for next year. So the next thing we're gonna ask you after February is to make sure that your students are flagged. And I'll start giving information on that as soon as we get the correct data for how to flag students. I'll send you that and we'll start saying, hey, make sure your students are flagged. And we're gonna ask that you do that every month. So for my next PowerPoint slide, I got too many things up. 21 APR planning goes right into that. So we're gonna flag 21st century students in Power School within the first 2 weeks of the semester. So we're gonna ask that you flag students in August or 2 weeks after school starts. So if school starts, and we know this is a busy time, but there's a method to the madness. We need to be able to check to make sure on our end too. And then in January, we're going to ask you to flag again. And then in June is going to be the most critical time because Carla made me aware, and y'all, I'm not in Power School, so I don't know these things. That about 2 weeks into June, the Power School system shuts down and turns over, which is what really happened to us this year. This is why we weren't able to flag. Y'all flagged, but it only flagged for this school year and not last school year. It turns over and it turns into a new school year. So if we don't get that information for the summer kids in the beginning of June, which we know will be a week or two into your summer camp, then we don't have the opportunity to flag those students and they don't show up. And we want to make sure that our summer data is correct. I see a question. Do site directors have the option to give the site coordinators access to download the option? You can make them a grantee user. Send me an email and I will either make them a grantee user for you or I'll give you instructions on how to do that. But it is in the support help button on how to change the user options. So yes, you can do that. And so we want you to include 21st century data in grant discussions and in your MOU. It's like I said, with asking your principal for this stuff and requesting this data, you need to be able to go back to your MOU and say, hey, you signed and said that you would give us this data as part of our agreement. When you're, I know cohort 16 is talking about new grants with principals and school personnel at this point. This is the time when I say to them, when I'm doing your needs assessment talk with my grantees, I'm saying, hey, or my schools, hey, this is the data that I'm going to need from you periodically. Who is it that you would like for me to request this data from? I'm going to need this data this many times throughout the year. And I would give them a list of Kepler measure stuff. I would give them a list of continuation application numbers, and whatever you need for cognitive, because you might need the school's ASIP plan or whatever it is. Look over all the things we've been asking you for throughout the year and make sure that you are talking to your school admins now when you're having your grant discussions to let them know what you will need so that when you ask for these things, it's not brand new and they're just, no, I'm not giving it to you. And then build the relationships with the principal and the admin staff who have access to the data. Like if that means if you need help with like building relationships, you need to talk to Janie Browning, and I'm calling her out because she's at every meeting. She's at the school board meeting talking to people. I put on my 21st century hat when I went to places when I was a grantee. If that meant I met somebody who told me they worked at Golden Plate, hey, I'm talking about it with them. If that meant the principal said, hey, I need you to come and judge the talent show during the school day, then I came and judged the talent show during the school day, because those are former relationships. And if I help you with what you need, you will help me with what I need. So just be kind of making these preparations to get the data that you need up front. And if you go ahead and talk about it up front, then it's not a shock when you ask for it. More questions and answers. I promise y'all they're like almost the last slide. Can't see the questions. Check this. Question or help? Thank you. Yes, I'm gonna send out the directions and the PowerPoint and the recordings tomorrow. I will send them out again on Friday, but I'm gonna do a break and I'm gonna send them out tomorrow. I ain't approved that by Amanda, but I know she's gonna agree with me. So yes, I'll send that out to you tomorrow so that you can go ahead and start working on that. But the first thing I would say to do tonight or first thing in the morning, go ahead and pull your data report so you can see who is missing and then send an email to whoever it is that does your checking in Power School, whether they be your principal, your counselor, assistant principal, whoever, and ask them to give you this data. Any news on the supplemental grant? That's gonna be Amanda.
So we just got approved last week our what is it called? Our waiver. I can't think of what it's called for some reason. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, the waiver was just approved last week. So we were able to keep the funds from the FY23 year that were left over. So that's about $5.6 million. And then there's some additional funds from FY24 that we also should have. I have requested information from our accounting department like 3 times and still have not gotten it back. So that is the only thing that's holding me up from doing these supplemental grants, but we're going to try to get that information out to you guys as soon as possible. I'm going to try to keep it. We know we want to do supplements for transportation and and staffing as far as so that you can maybe increase the pay of some of your staff. But just remember, the funds have to be spent by the end of September. It just took, I don't know why there was some confusion with the State Department. We sent it, it's a tidings waiver, that's it. We sent the tidings waiver all the way back in September of this past year. And somebody either dropped the ball or an email got lost or something happened. I kept asking about it and finally got an email from the Fed saying, hey, we never received it. Because we have to run it up through the chain. It was supposed to, I don't know. Somebody said they sent it, but then they said they didn't get it. I don't know what happened, but we sent it that day. And so we just found out last week that the waiver was approved. It doesn't give us much time to spend the funds. So I did find out, though, that we can request yet another tidings waiver for another year to roll it over again if we have to. But we're going to go ahead and try to get that out as soon as possible. So just like you guys, there's a ton on our plates right this minute too, just a whole bunch of things that we're trying to juggle, but that is definitely a big, huge rock on my list of things to work on is getting that supplemental application out to you. I would love to be able to do some supplement where you can get some equipment, at least for the cohort 17. I know cohort 16, you can't really buy any large equipment in this last year, but also any kind of programs to help with professional development and things like that. So that's something that I'll be working on. I'm not even going to be in the office like the whole rest of this month. I have conference after conference after conference, but I will be working on that in my hotel room at night. So we will try to get that out to you guys as quickly as possible, so that you can apply for that. And again, I need to check through my notes it's been so long since I've asked her about it. I need to check with my notes from the feds to find out exactly how we have to do it. I would love for you just to be able to ask for what you want and us just approve it. But I don't know if I have to give it categories or something, if I have to give some sort of, I'm trying to remember if it has to be a certain things that we're given the supplemental funds for, or if it can be open and you ask for what you need. That's what I would love to do, is just give you what you need. Based on your site. So I have to check into that. Another thing I wanted to say is just a quick apology as far as, I know this is kind of like the last minute, yet another thing to put on your plate, especially right here where you're, writing your grant. And some of you are writing your grant for cohort 26. Mid reports are due. We got the ACA conference coming up, and now we're asking you to do this. I would say if you had to prioritize, I would say working on your cohort 26 application is most important. Then getting this data updated is probably next important, and then the mid-year report can wait until you're able to work on that. This is important information. We do want to have as much complete information as possible, but I think the feds do understand to a certain extent that it's not going to be perfect, and as long as we're getting better every year, that's a good thing. But they have stressed it. I don't want to say too much, but you guys know what's going on, or the atmosphere that's going on right now. And so any way that we can show that 21st Century is a valuable program is something that we need to do. We need to try to make sure that we do what we're supposed to do, that we spend the money like we're supposed to spend it, and that we, that we turn in the data that we're supposed to turn in, so that there's no excuse to remove our program or to say that our program doesn't help students and help with student achievement. So again, I'm sorry, we didn't realize that the data wasn't going to update until we ran it again in like late December, and then found out that it was the same data that we had before, because we didn't realize that the system rolled over in June and July, and you going in and adding the 21st century students after didn't do any good. So we know now, and we are going to stay on you guys about making sure that data is entered. And I don't want to keep rambling, but I do want to back up what Erica said a few minutes ago. If you need me to back you up, if you need me to write a letter on ALSDE, a memo like on letterhead and sent so that you can forward it to the principal or whatever, saying, when you went into this program, you signed an agreement that you would provide this data, then please let me know, and I'll work on putting that together for you. I may go ahead and just put it together anyway, as like a tool that you could have to send out if you need it for this and for future years, or for this year if you're having a hard time getting people to send out. So anyway, again, we apologize for this last minute, and it's a lot of stress on you guys, but hopefully things will get better soon and we'll get this in and we can handle the next thing. All right, sorry, Erica.
No, you're good. I launched a poll, and this is just a feedback to say how don't shoot the messenger in the message. That's what we had to talk about today. Just your feedback on the PD session and topics that you would like for us to do on our monthly feedback session. We want to make sure that it's informative to y'all. Generally, aside from this session, they're optional, but we record and put them on the website. So we want these to be like, if you're a new site person and you have some things that you want to, like, you can send them to the YouTube page and say, oh, okay, watch this video. So just be thinking about some topics that you would like to see us address during this session. It's normally like 30 minutes to an hour. It's not a long session, but if you add that to your feedback, then that would be really helpful for us. Can a session be added to ACA? Wait. The familiar reports are time to complete. You haven't registered for ACA, yes. We do have a session that's going to be on easy report and final reports, and we'll talk about media reports for that too. So that'll be a session with me and the Lindas that's on the agenda already. So yes, if you need help, normally when we have our sessions, people come and they have their laptops and they have plenty of questions. So we will have time for you to ask questions. We will at the end look at laptops with you and whatever we need to do to try to help. And you can schedule time with us now to do that too. You can schedule a Zoom with me. I normally have some pockets of time where I'm available for Zoom or telephone calls or whatever throughout the day. So you don't have to wait for that. If you have questions on this training, tomorrow you look at this in the morning, you're like, nope, I'm confused. Send me an email, we'll schedule the time. I do not mind. That's what I'm here for. And Lindsay put the link to register for ACEA. Make sure you remember that ACEA is mandatory for each grantee. So Just make sure that you have some representation registered. So I know we have some program directors who can make it, but make sure your site directors are registered. ACEA is really good for just all type of 21st century things, after school things. Amanda has some sessions. Alicia and Carla have some sessions. I have some sessions. We try to run the gamut. So there's even a 21st century strand this year, which I really like. So each block of time, there's a 21st century session available for y'all. So that's all we got. And Linda Williams said again, if y'all need something, please let us know. We are here to help. We know we've given y'all a lot of stuff and we are running over our time now, but let us know if y'all need anything. We're here, we're available, and that's all I got. I'll send this stuff out tomorrow for y'all. Y'all have a good one.